Right folks, welcome to this exciting video where you once again join me in the beautiful landscape of Scotland. And for this intro, I've actually just popped in this field gate because I was wanting to show you this. This is actually an old hill fort. You can see the shape of this hill. It's like a naturally defended hill here. But I was driving past, there wasn't really a good place to pull in near the hill fort, but I've kind of pulled the car in at this field gate and I thought I would throw on the camera, do a wee intro, and let's take a look at this hill fort from this angle. I was kind of going to analyse the land here and see if it was possible to punch on over. It's better going through grazed lands, if anything, walking in these fields, because there's so many ticks in Scotland at this time of year. You're better going into areas where there's sheep and stuff like that, and then the ground's clear, the ticks are gone. But yeah, check this out. Just think, Iron Age history, probably 2,000 years ago. This is a fortified hilltop right here, and you can kind of see the shape of it. Often they picked strategic hills like that with a good vantage point over the land. And around this area in Scotland there was actually quite a lot of hill forts. I believe there was one up Kinparney Tower near New Tile, which is a few hills over, and then this is over closer towards Glams, kind of on a wee road. I think it said Denoon was the name at the top of the road, and that's kind of halfway down. But just check it out folks, a crazy scene. I'm just thinking I might walk down the road a bit from here and see if there's an easier way I can get up, so we can actually document the hilltop properly. In the wee field at the opposite side of the road to I can see that there's cafes, and that's the sign of the springtime with the newborn cafes, and all the fields are starting to grow. Around here it's mostly grazing lands, but down in the lower lands there's just so much going on now, like the tatties and stuff's all in, and it's just cool scenes. Look at this, it's a pure paradise. Green rolling hills of Scotland. It is super windy today folks, and I do apologise for that. I'll just check that I locked the car as I walk past. But yeah, these wee adventures folks, I love it. Coming into places like this, it's like a wee road that I'd never been on. There's always an adventure to be had. Crazy little places you've never been. This is just a picturesque little country lane. I can see there's a lot of those little black horse flies, I think they're called. They really give you a strong nip. If you've got a t-shirt on, they nip you in the arm and you don't even notice them landing. So I was going to fly my drone around this hill fort, but it's so windy. It's a strong wind coming towards me here that I won't be able to fly the drone, unfortunately. But I do love getting the drone out and flying about, and it's such a shame. In Scotland the weather's so extreme quite a lot that the drone would just blow away. And you have to be sensible often when you're flying the thing around, because it can just take off. It's interesting to imagine the Iron Age history in this area, and just think 2,000 years ago how different the land may have looked before it was tamed with the scene of the agriculture. Potentially these lands here would have been more forested and bushy, and it's incredible to think 2,000 years ago. Think how many hundreds of years that has been since a place like that on that hilltop was inhabited. Look at these gorse bushes right here folks. I've actually got an app on my phone now where I can just aim the camera at any type of plant or animal, and it tells me exactly the type of plant or animal and the species. So in a future video we're going to be going around and naming all the plants, or if I see something that I don't recognise, I can tell you exactly what type of plant it is. And it'll be cool to get familiar with that side of things as well on these adventures. Yeah, now and again I can get a glimpse of the hill fort up at the top above the gorse bushes. So it's interesting, on this channel we visit the Iron Age hill forts and the old souterrains, which were like underground chambers and rooms. And it's mad to think it may have been like 100 years between those sorts of items getting built. But you can think nowadays how much it's changed since like 1900 within that 100 years. And it shows how in the Iron Age times it may have also changed so much from the time of the souterrains being an underground low down structure compared to these hill forts away up in the high lands on the top of the hills with a great overview of surrounding areas. Sometimes I believe these forts may have been a place that locals would have retreated to at the time of an invasion or an attack, a safe area. But yeah, it's interesting, these were proper like settlements basically up the top of here as well. It's just so cool, folks. I'm often blown away imagining it. A lot of the history that's written is all the theories from the archaeology and studies that's been done over the years. So it is cool to often just go to these places and see it for yourself and imagine it back such a long time ago when there was smoke coming out of the wee chimneys on the houses. Maybe when there was little fields or grazing lands around these hill forts back originally. It's just so cool, folks. Look at the yellow of the bushes. Mission update, folks. We're entering the perimeter lines here of this hill fort area. And look at the shape of the hill from this side. This here is actually the opposite side of the hill to where we first saw it on the intro. I've kind of followed this track around and I can see there's a massive boulder on the side of the hill as well. Yeah, I'm going to punch on up to the top and we'll get a real aspect to this place. It's cool coming to these areas that I've never been to before, and every week I love to bring places that I've never been and tell little stories of history here that we've never seen on the channel. And it blows me away, there's just so much around in Scotland to be found, and it's from all different time periods. The last adventure I was at the Cold War nuclear observation bunker, which was built for warfare, and then today, look, 2,000 years earlier, this was also built for battle or warfare or defence. They're often like defensive strategic positions, and it's crazy that the footprint of this is left in the land here to be seen. Look at this mark here on the ground, folks. It could just be drainage or an old waterway, but it comes right around the side of this hill fort. And it is interesting to see the old groundworks. Sometimes the hill forts did have big deep ditches all the way around, probably to slow the attack of an enemy if they were approaching. Just like castles at a certain time had a moat. Yeah, that big boulder's mad. Some of these boulders, which are random in the land in Scotland, are actually left behind from the glaciation period. They were carried within the ice and then deposited. Once the ice melted, the stones just sat on the land wherever they were. Yes, folks, check it out. Some stones were also like ancient standing stones, but others were literally just deposited from the ice melting. Like I said, look at that massive quarry in the far hill, and that shows how much of a hill you could just take away with a quarry. Originally, when I was coming up the road, I was thinking that was the hill fort on the other hill, but then once I came further I realised I could see it, the lie of the land and the amount of groundwork's done around this hill. If it wasn't so windy, I would love to fly my drone around it, but yeah, it's just gusting every now and again. Whoa, check it out, you can see the land, how it's been changed at a certain time. It's almost non-natural, and that's often the clue of these old hill forts. So on the side of this hill from here you can see the different levels, and it's actually at one time, probably years ago, it was more clear, you could see the shape of the land, whereas now it's just the faint remains. The way at one time the hill had been shaped and sculpted, and the further up this hill I come, the view just gets more incredible. Wow. Anyway, I've got a little bit more to push on up. Yes, look at this, folks, we've made it. This is so cool. And see, now that we're here on the hill fort, look at it. You see the clear outline here, and look how much this outer rim has been built up. The centrepiece of this hill fort is probably like a good 10 or 15 foot lower than this, and at one time apparently they had stone probably gathered and piled around the outside edge like a wall, but also they would have had wooden defences like a big wall around the top. Let's take a walk right around here, folks, and take it all in and see what remains of this ancient history. Just think 2,500 years ago, the hustle and bustle, people kicking about. Probably if you came over here they'd be running towards you with spears. And the interesting thing, I could actually see indentations on the ground right along there. Anyway, let's head on with this. This is so cool, folks. I wasn't even sure what to expect when I came up this hill. I just had a general idea that it was a hill fort, and I'm just wondering if this has been potentially the original entrance. I could also see there's low points over there. Sometimes these were strategically placed on the land, so like the area where the clan or tribe was from, it would be less defended from that side, whereas whoever they were against or their enemy would be at the side which was most defended often. And there was different areas and boroughs of Scotland controlled by different folk who operated the hill forts. That's one of the theories as well, folks. The theories are out there for the hill forts, and it is so interesting to think. It's unusual to, sometimes animals can wear it, and if you consider the 2,000 years the animals' feet may have worn such a great entrance here, because from the lie of the land, I wonder, that area that I thought was a ditch coming round, it kind of stops there, and that's interesting because that shows that it's a defensive ditch at that area that's a slope, whereas as we saw from the intro to this video, there's actually a cliff at this other side. That's so cool to see. So the defences were properly strategically dug, even like a modern day battlefield with the trenches. And yeah, let's push on round and see this. This is basically warfare and defence of land from so long ago, and it just shows how humans have always operated. Sometimes always at war with each other, often times of peace in between, different bits of land changing hands over years, people calling it home, calling it theirs, and then it changes hands, and then for years people are satisfied again until it all becomes disruptive. And look how defended this is here at this side. You can see the small areas of grazing land and silage here that's been taken off. Little areas of animals grazing like tiny ants from this hilltop. See, often it's theorised as well, like these hill forts would have been potentially in charge of this area of Glen here, you could say, as far as the eye can see. And then if there had been a time of invasion within this area, all the people who lived in the local houses or crofts, they would have come up here until the battle or war had been settled. And sometimes, like, it could have even been a chief of an area like this that stayed up here and controlled these local lands, could watch over everything that was going on. There is literally so many theories often for these places, and like I say, it is because it's unknown, to be honest. But it's cool to see how these outer walls are, and just think how long ago this stone had been handled and brought to this hilltop. Think what the person was wearing 2,000 years ago. What was the fashion? It's just crazy, folks. Stuff they had made with the animals or supplies they had around them. No shops, certainly no supermarkets. I wonder what those people would think of the modern world if they could see it today. The hill fort, just a desolate wasteland, a grassy field, which it may have actually been before it was even turned into a hill fort. I'm going to push on to this far side because it looks like potentially there could be a well, and often at these hill forts they had a deep well, because in Scotland you can actually get into the water table at even quite high heights up on a hill. You get the fresh water coming out of the ground if you dig in the right area. And these hill forts, like we saw at Finhaven Hill Fort and stuff like that, they actually have wells. And even at the Carterthons, the White Carterthon Hill Fort, that was interesting to see it as well. Anyway, let's punch on over here. As I walk over these stones, I'm analysing them to see if it's natural stones. It's probably been here in the ground, maybe even bedrock. Other stones, like I say, it'd be even older than the Iron Age. Some of them would have been left behind from the Ice Age, which is crazy to think about as well. It just shows how humanity changes and develops over the years. See what I'm thinking? This here is actually the original entrance into the hill fort compound, and this here will be facing the direction that my car's parked. So let's take a look around. Imagine the horsemen or whatever riding up within this place, maybe coming back from a session of hunting out in the wild lands around here. Whoa, look at the steepness of this cliff here, folks. It just drops right off there. You can see the bedrock. This hill here is solid stone once you go a certain level below the soil. Yeah, I'm punching over to this corner. I can actually see my car down the far side. So that's where we were at that edge, where I did the intro. You can see some more locals on their way up here. Wow, Wow, what a place. Look at the size of it to the far edge. But at this hill fort, I'm actually not seeing a well like I was thinking about. There is a boggy kind of wet area here. Yeah, I'm thinking that would have been the original way up at that corner. That is the corner I'm parked, so it's interesting to see it. The contours in the ground are prominent here. I'm just doing a full 360 walk around. Wow, what a scene of Scotland right here, folks. Yeah, it's mad. I'm just imagining it as I go around with the wee roofs, the wee houses and the wee community that may have been here. Sometimes the houses in places like this were actually constructed like mostly under the ground. The roof would have just been like a small thing on the top, probably wooden, with sometimes earth over the roof as well. And you can see here there's actually squares almost cut out like straight lines, which could have been original buildings on the site. This could be an old wall line. And then look here, you can see another square cut out. Some of these hill forts have been excavated by archaeologists and studied, but other ones have had no studies done. But there's so many in Scotland like this. There must have been so many communities or hill forts at a certain time. Sometimes there's just so many of these that they don't have enough funding just to excavate every single one. Wow, this is a proper heat trap. Now I've come down within the line of the fort. Yeah, this is a rectangle here. I'm probably standing in what used to be an old building, and it's almost like a circle here as well. Wow, this is so cool, folks. I've just loved finding this, and it's one of those adventures. I was just turning left and right through the lands, and I didn't even know I was going to be seeing a hill fort. Yeah, look at this area here. It's almost like straight lines cut through the soil. Whoa, this beastie's flying into my head. Yeah, this is cool here, folks. Look at this. This is the outline of a building. I wonder if this has been like a bit of a round tower. It almost looks like a curve. Yeah, that's a proper deep bit around the far side. So like some of the hill forts, we have seen them when there's a lot of stones or whatever left from the buildings, but other ones like this, it just seems to be really grassy with the slight right angles and stuff left behind from the walls. I'm going to punch on back out this side. Shout out the other people that turned up here on this remote, desolate hilltop here in Angus. It's probably actually near enough bordering like Perthshire potentially, or maybe no actually, because it's a wee bit further to like New Tile and stuff's over that way. We've got Glams, probably Cooper Angus and stuff over there. I'm pretty sure this is like the Strathmore Valley. Yeah, it's been so cool. We've basically walked right around here like we did recently at one of the, I think it was the White Carthan's, the most recent hill fort. Before that I was at Finhaven Hill, where we witnessed some of that vitrified melted rock. To see this today, folks, it's another hill fort, and it blows my mind just to share these theories of what they were, and to show people all over the world what we have here in Scotland from such ancient times. They're at least 2,000 years old, and to see that defensive ditch and stuff, the strategic positioning in the land of these places for the battle or for the war at the time, or just to save maybe the bit of land that they had. It's interesting to think about it. The politics and the culture of the land was so different back then, more tribal. That's why nowadays you can hardly get your head around what went on. But wow, yeah, that's so cool. I'm going back down the way I came because the grass is quite short, but when I looked at the other side earlier, it's so overgrown. That's why I'm punching on back round here. And I was just wanting to look at this area because I came up over there, but I was thinking I'm going to follow this wee track down just to get a wee look over. You can see the bedrock here. I don't know if it's been shaped to make it more sheer. Nowadays there's so much earth and like overgrowth that it grows up through these places. Sometimes the land can rise up by a metre or more. Yeah, look at this side here, folks. This is so cool. It's on the side of the sheer cliff. And what a scene of a Scottish valley. Nowadays you see the wind turbines and stuff at the far side. At one time just wild moorland. But certainly on a day like today, those wind turbines will be whirling. As would my drone, it would be whirling off across in that direction as well if I tried to fly it. Yeah, I'm so glad I came here and I managed to pull in at that roadside. There is no real good area to park. That's why I wonder if they're maybe locals just out for a walk, that other couple that came up there. Such a peaceful piece of land as well. Obviously certain times of year, this is a field, there could be cows, sheep or anything kicking about here, so you hate to come with respect like the landowner and the farmer, but apart from that, it's a historical wonder worth seeing and a fun wee adventure. If you do park in areas as well to look at these things, you have to be careful not to block the farm gates, because I've seen videos on YouTube before of farmers just lifting people's cars up with a forklift or whatever to get in. Look at this here, folks. So this here is the start of the defensive ditch, which leads right around the front of this hill fort. And it is interesting to see what they've done. Like, such a long time ago, think what tools they were even using. Did they have spades and pickaxes? And if they did, what were they made of? Probably Iron Age. Obviously they had invented the iron tools, and even what shape to make the tools was probably brand new to them back then. It's like us inventing a quantum computer microchip. Back then, that was their pickaxe. It opened so much more possibilities for them, made it so much easier to dig big defensive ditches probably and things like that. And then at a later time they must have perfected their mixtures of metal when they made steel, changing alloys of metal, combinations, endless combinations. It's so cool, folks. It's mad just to remember these places with the adventures. Anyway, I'll update you once I punch on a little bit further down. I was waiting to say I'm out in the sunshine, but it's these clouds. We're just basically one step away from a rainstorm today, and I have been dodging it on today's adventures. It's cool being at the top of those hill forts when it's like not windy at all because of the shape of the hill. The way they dug it down so low, you're completely out of the wind even though you're way up at the top of such a wild hill. And you have to think back in the day, maybe from up there you'd be looking out over the canopy of a forest. Maybe people looking out for the approach of invading forces, like I've said already on the video. It's just crazy often to have these theories, and the truth is that nobody actually knows the truth about like why they were built, because it was so long ago. A lot of it's just theories, putting wee pieces of little stories together from history, or analysing what's been done at each hill fort, and you can sort of see different constructions from slightly different time periods. Some of them are more earth-like constructions, and then other ones there's more stone-like constructions within them, and I think that's because it probably spanned maybe like a 100 or 200 year period, maybe more, when those were the things. Hill fort was the way to go. Nowadays it's like towns and cities. I see actually a raindrop on the lens, folks. There is rain on now, and I've probably just timed that right. That's the thing at this time of year in Scotland, it can change so quick. You often get a half-hour window of opportunity with good weather, and then it turns so quick. The wind gets strong and the rain comes on. But that's the character of Scotland, and that's what we love on these adventures. This time of year, the gorse bushes are just so yellow everywhere on the land. There's often whole hills, just that vivid yellow colour, and that adds to the scene at this time of year. Everything else is getting so much more green, and even the trees this past week, the trees are all out in green as well. That winter scene we had a few weeks ago is changing for sure, but the fresh adventures are still out there to be had. So I think because Denoon Farm's round the corner, I was calling this Denoon Hill Fort, and I'm glad I found it. And it was just from literally the shape of the hill. I could tell it wasn't a natural shape, and I thought that must be the hill fort there. But I had forgotten it was even here. Often I find out about crazy places to visit, and then over the years, if you've not been to see it, you forget about it, and then in the future when you're driving past you think, oh wow, again, that's there to be seen. This has been such a cool one. I'm not sure what direction that other couple walked up through, but I was just trying to avoid the long grass and the overgrown conditions. Too many of my adventures, I've seen the old ticks kicking about and if it's not grazing lands, you're better just to play it safe. So this is proof once again that in Scotland you get all weathers within 1 hour. So we've had the rain and the miserable windy conditions, and then once again the sun is shining, folks. Before I've even gotten back to my car, probably in ideal conditions it would have taken me half the time to walk there, but I enjoy sometimes a little walk around to really see the surroundings, or to see the hill, like the hill fort from each angle. It gives you a true aspect of how it looked. To do the intro at that side and to see it, the shape of it and the cliff, it gave us more of an idea once we got up there, like what was down at the lower level. That's been so much fun. Anyway, I'm parked around this corner, folks, so I'm going to end this short video here. Thanks very much for watching, and I'll be back soon with the next adventure, wherever I end up going into these wild lands of Scotland.